everyone, and welcome to the Human Design Podcast with me, your host, Emma Dunwoody. I'm a qualified master coach and human behaviour specialist, as well as being a qualified human design coach. And I work with clients every single day to answer the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose? I also assist them to transition from the person they think they should be to the person they really are on the inside. I teach people how to actually live their design instead of just knowing it. And if this is something that you want to do too, well, stay tuned or reach out for private coaching or Human Design Unpacks, where I show you exactly how to live your design. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Human Design Podcast with me, your host, Emma Dunwoody. Oh my goodness, I'm excited. It's that time again. It's December. So we're going to start by reviewing 2022. Of course, for those of you that are long-time listeners, you will know that there's going to be a few of these podcasts. There's going to be a forecast with Liz Zamorsky for 2023. We're going to look back at 2022, and then we're going to do some planning for 2023. So there's a few really cool episodes coming up for you, so stay tuned. Having said that, please, if you are up for this episode, then press pause. Well, I should probably tell you what you need to do before you press pause. But anyhow, go and get yourself a piece of paper and a pen, get yourself some water or a cup of tea or a coffee or a glass of wine or whatever floats your boat, and carve out some time, grab your journal and go through with me this exercise to review 2022. Because one of the things that we don't do enough of is celebrate or review or look back. And what happens when we don't do that, the human brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes the information, meaning that we could have had an absolute ripper of a year, but having a really shitty month. And we will look back from that frame and go, well, the whole year's been crap, when it really hasn't. So what we want to always remember to do is to restore our deletion. So we want to go mining for gold. We want to find the things that actually lit us up, or our wins, or look at the challenges and who we became because of those challenges. Because this is how we can really grow and evolve. This is how we get ourselves out of, just experiencing Groundhog Day or Groundhog year after year. It's by consciously reviewing the year that went, then consciously having a vision or a plan or something, and we'll talk about that later, for the future. So you've got your piece of paper and your pen, you've got your drink of some kind, you've carved out some time. So let's start talking about 2022. First off, are you one of my listeners that wrote the letter to yourself, that took time to connect in with your future self and then set that intention for your future self to write you a letter from December 2022, and give you some insights on the year ahead? Well, if you were, this is the time. Go get it. Press pause. Go get it. Read it. I read mine, and I think it's like the 4th or 5th year in a row now, and it was just so bang on. I couldn't, it's amazing. It's really amazing. And, part of me is like, is it the chicken or the egg? Do I actually manifest from that place? Or is it really sort of written in the stars? Honestly, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I know for me, 2022 has been such an incredible year. And being an emotional authority and being December, I'm tired. I've done so much. I'm not very, really well. I'm not sick, but I'm just getting run down more easily when the kids get sick at school and those sort of things. And just because it's the end of the year. So if I was not taking the time to review 2022, my emotional authority would, in conjunction with my unresourceful beliefs and ego, would potentially say, well, was 2022 okay? It was okay. It was good. There was some good bits. And what we want to do is we want to take the time to go back. So the first thing that I went back to was the letter that I wrote to myself. And, well, do you know what I love doing? I actually write, and you guys, again, if you've been long-time listeners, if you were here last year or the year before, you know that I love a passion planner. And in the back of my passion planner, is where I write my letter. So I don't lose it, because there has been times in the past that I put it somewhere and then I can't find it. So I had to put it in a very logical spot. So that's where I do it. And anyway, I went back, and everything in my passion planner, I do like pink headings and I write in blue ballpoint pen. So I literally go through this letter that's written in blue ballpoint pen. Does anyone else get bothered by there's just so many black ballpoint pens? That really annoys me. I want blue. Anywho, sorry, distracted. And I literally go through this letter and I like tick it with my pink pen, because, oh my God, how good is it? Like, how much does your brain love it when you can tick things off? Oh, such a good feeling. So anyway, I go through my letter and I'm just ticking things off, and I'm like, wow, future self has done it again. Loving it. Now, this is something that I'm going to talk more to when we're future planning for 2023. So don't worry if you don't know what I'm talking about. But this was a really great place for me to start, because I can already at the beginning of this review, and I take if I can take a full day to do this, that's ideal. So I've taken a full day to sit down, read my letter, go through my digital calendar, I go through my passion planner, I go through my journal, I have a look at even a re-listen to Liz Zamorski's forecast for this year. And I also look at the notes that I've taken, because I have a session with her every month. So I look at those notes as well. And one of the really important things for me is I'm just building evidence for my brain, constantly building evidence for my brain, for my conditioning, for my belief systems, to say that when I listen to my strategy and authority, when I listen to my intuition, when I listen to my insights, or I'm driven by these important themes in my chart, magic happens. These big things happen. I can manifest what I want to manifest. And it's just constantly building evidence so that when the big decisions come, it's easy. It's really easy to trust a feeling over my mind working stuff out. And this is how we do it. We want to, a lot of people talk about deconditioning, right? And you would have heard me say it a number of times. We're not deconditioning, we're reconditioning. We are reconditioning our unconscious mind, because it's still going to govern, most of our behavior. Like, yes, the more conscious we are, the more the unconscious mind doesn't jump up with the inner child or the shadow or, some unresourceful beliefs. Sure. However, the unconscious mind is always going to be running the majority of our behavior, because we can't think about breathing. We can't think about healing. These are all things that are happening below our conscious awareness. So we're reconditioning our mind. So the more evidence that we can give our brain that this whole human design thing is gold, and we can trust ourselves and we can trust the universe, and we don't need to know all the things. And then we can really start to quantum leap. We can really start to create massive shifts and magic. And that has massively happened for me this year. So yeah, the next thing, as I said, if you're a bit of a nerd like me, you might want to go back and listen to Liz Zamorski's 2022 forecast, because it blew my mind, because I had definitely had a slow start in 2022. And she even spoke about how January, February, March were a different energy to the rest of the year. And that was absolutely my experience. And she was talking about how it was closing out cycles. Things was kind of coming to a finish. We were getting to the end of a cycle, end of a lesson. And that was absolutely me. At that point, that's when we were, the other thing she said was like putting down roots. So I could look back and I'd almost forgotten the first quarter of the year. And when I was doing the first quarter of the year, when I was in the first quarter of the year, I was like, oh my God, is the momentum ever going to pick back up? Like, what's going on? Why is it like this? And that was a really powerful time for me. And I'll come to the journal prompts that I've got for you soon. But this is why this can be really powerful, because I listened and I'm like, yes, oh my goodness, I had shingles at that stage. We were experiencing all the floods. It took us ages to find a house. It was a challenging few months as we really finished up old cycles, which is basically what Liz was talking about. And then just listening to the forecast for Liz's, then listening to the forecast from Liz for the rest of 2022, wow, oh my goodness. It really helped me pull out pieces of like, oh yeah, that happened there and that happened there and that happened there. As I said before, I'm restoring the deletions. I'm pulling back these wins, these stories, these challenges that help me grow and evolve. So they're super, super powerful. Now, as I said in the beginning, the other thing that I love to do is I love to go back in my calendar, in my digital calendar, and I love to go back into my passion planner. And one of the things I've realized over the years is I'm putting more and more information into those things to help me in exactly this moment. So now I'll often write down how I'm feeling or emotions or little wins or challenges or questions, because often the universe throws me questions or statements that people say and it's like they're highlighted. So I'll write them down. And they might become a journal prompt that I work on for a week and I completely forget about it because whatever was being healed through that process is no longer part of my conditioning or reconditioning. So it goes poof out of my awareness. So it gives us that opportunity to go back and go, oh yeah, wow, that because I healed that or because I changed that, these things happened. So we can really start to see how the work is actually getting us closer to our truth, our power, our authenticity. Because I know for me, early on in my personal development journey, I didn't know. I didn't realize how far I had come because I really wasn't. I wasn't recording it. I wasn't really keeping a journal. I mean, I was keeping a gratitude journal, sure, but I wasn't being as, what's the word? It's not meticulous, but I try to keep more information, not less. And it's not that I spend much time. It's just like if there's a fleeting thought, I write it down. Or if there's a special day, I write it down. Or if it, with my intentions on the daily, I'll try and make them specific so I can just really see this journey that I've been on throughout the year, which honestly I love and I think it's very exciting. So that's another thing that I'd recommend. Take some time, go back through your digital calendar. If you have a written one like me, because I like paper and pen, do that too. And what you're going to start to see is you're going to start to notice a story begins to unfold. I also looked back at the coaches that I worked with in 2022 and how specifically, like one of them I worked with, Laura Pringle, and we can probably put her link, we'll put her link in the show notes. She's coming up in the podcast in the future, next year. And working with her was really, really profound. Except the thing that my ego and my mind, because I'm so action oriented, I'm like performance oriented, I'm results oriented, and a lot of these more masculine energies, they can also get pretty wrapped up in the ego. Like the ego is kind of like, well, I want to see the evidence. And as much as I tried to almost ground this journey with her, we didn't, it didn't ground. However, oh my goodness, the person I was before I started working with her and the person I am now, talk about surrendered to life, talk about trust myself, talk about trust the universe. These are all of these subtle energy skills. These are all of the like trusting our intuition, loving myself, like all of me. Not feeling like I'm in competition to anyone else, feeling like I'm, my business is divinely mine. Who I am is divinely mine. I get to be that and just champion everyone else for the same thing, being their divine, who they are and what they're creating by divine right. Oh my goodness, I changed so much on the inside and definitely my life changed on the outside. Now, the other coach that I worked with that you've heard me talk about a lot is Elizabeth Ralph. And again, like when I went back over the time that we've been working together and how much has changed, like, I've got an entire investment portfolio, like a diverse, some private investing, some shares. Justin's right into crypto, so I'm not going through that. We've started our, property investment journey. So much has shifted and changed. And if I just sort of took that moment, if I wasn't taking the time to review all these things, I wouldn't see how far I've already come. And I can be the sort of person who, I always remember when I was studying to become a master coach, one of the many things that we learned was like some people will always rate things a 9 out of 10. They're never going to be a 10 out of 10. There's always room for improvement. And that's me. And for a long time I was like, God, does that mean I'm a perfectionist? Is that a bad thing? And it's not a bad thing at all. And I'm so not a perfectionist, which many of you have witnessed. And thank you to everyone who has ever sent in a spelling mistake or a grammar mistake or whatever other mistake you found in my work. Because yes, that does exist a lot. Probably not so much now because other people do a lot of my copy, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? However, there's always this room for me for growth. So sometimes if I'm not staying conscious, then I'm going to be like, where's the growth? Is it enough growth? The ego can jump in and take over. So another reason why this is really powerful is we go back and we look at the coaches that we've worked with. Who were you before you worked with them? And who did you become after you worked with them? And I think this is a really, really important topic right now because while I'm on the topic, I actually saw a client of mine post something to Instagram recently where there's this woman who literally gets out of the shower. She's late for a call and she gets out of the shower and then says, I just got this download or this voice was in my head and I just have to set up a group and charge $10,000 and there's 20 seats. Go. I don't even know what I'm teaching. And what now? What now? Really? Oh my goodness. So don't sign up to stuff like that. I mean, that's just my opinion. You do whatever you like, whatever your strategy and authority tells you to do. And I don't even know if it's real, To me, it seems completely unreal. However, look at the world we live in. So the odds are it's probably real, right? This is something else I would highly recommend. What have you invested in this year? What have you invested your time, energy, and money into? And who were you before it and who were you after it? It's a great place to look at, okay, well, and actually taking the time to review is so incredibly powerful because sometimes we can work with coaches that on the surface we kind of think, we didn't really get much out of it. And then over time, if we ask ourselves better questions like who did I become? What specifically has changed since working with this person? Wow. Then all of a sudden you see the power that this coach has. Because oftentimes an amazing coach, it's not just them that you're not just working on a 3-dimensional level. You're literally working on an energetic, a quantum level within their fractal. I know for me, everyone who signs up to my programs, they get results straight away before they've even started the program. One of the things we've just launched HDX, and the one piece of feedback that keeps coming back to me in Instagram and Facebook and all of the places is, oh my God, I've been hunting for answers to these questions forever. And this is the only place I've ever seen them. So that's because that's me. I need to know how. I need to know why. I need to get to the bottom of it and I need to get rid of all the bloody fluffy stuff. So when you work with a coach, you're in their fractal. So the moment that you start working with them, your molecules, your atoms, you become, entangled. So you are already experiencing their wins, their losses, their shadows, their challenges, all of the shit they bring to the table. That's also what you're going to be receiving. As much as that person might be sitting there doing their very best to be the best coach possible, if they're not dealing with their stuff, it's at the table whether they like it or not. And it's definitely been one of my, big things on my journey where I would be working through something and then a client would come to me, and not so much now, but years ago, when I was starting my business, probably the first 2-3 years of my business, people be working through things and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm literally working through that right now. But I have an answer for you because I'm a few weeks ahead of you. But you want to be conscious of did you get the results? How did you specifically change? Because sometimes we set intentions and results to work with coaches and we don't get those results, but we get something even better. And I know that that's certainly happened for me in the past. And this is a very important exercise as well, because I know, again, for me, I was always so desperate to work with a coach. I would sign up with so many coaches. in many cases end up coaching them, or they would just bang on about nothing for ages. And I'd be like, this is a complete waste of my money. And the years that I didn't write that down were the years that were followed by me just signing up and making the same mistake again. So just pay attention. Who did you become? What did you learn? What were the results that you got? So these are a couple of things that I really want you to spend some time with, go and review, because what you're actually looking for is like, what are the patterns? What did you notice showed up for you? And let me give you an example. So for me in 2022, I felt like it was a bit of a slow start. Had a bit of a slow start to 2022. I do feel like in hindsight, I had to decompress a little bit from living in a caravan with 3 other, big energies, being an introvert, running a business, feeling like there was 2021 was a very, very busy year for me. So I feel like a lot of the beginning of it was decompressing, healing, not quite learning my lesson because I completely overcommitted, then learned my lesson and sort of reset. So once this happens, and it's really funny because I record my income monthly. We look at downloads monthly for the podcast. We're just about to hit 1 million people. Thank you. You rock. Keep sharing it. We record all sorts of things like that. So I can just see some, as we call it in our business, figures with Taylor. With all these numbers, we can just keep an eye on, okay, well, what's happening? Because again, my mind can be like, well, I feel this. And it could just be that I'm tired and in my emotional authority. It's not actually true. So we need to make sure that we're not falling into old habits of giving meaning to an emotional low that's unresourceful. It's just that I'm tired. That's all it is. So we track a few things. And for me, as I was looking back over all of this 2022, month by month, the things that I'd written down, the numbers, the figures, I could just see this really amazing story coming to light because it was really interesting. I just see this theme of, like in the beginning of the year, I was still in a place where I was distrusting myself. There was this bloody thing for me. It was conversion. And actually it's become a theme of almost the whole of 2022 because I was just really done with everyone using manipulative ways to convert people into programs. So we've been experimenting a bunch of different things. And let me say, every single launch that we've done this year, none of them have been perfect. Every single one of them have taught me a great lesson. And oh my goodness, have we nailed it. Like I think 2023 is going to be amazing. So this has been a big theme, and it was really interesting because when I was looking back at or listening back to Liz's forecast, there was a part of it that she talked about. There's going to be a lesson that keeps coming back. Don't worry, it'll just keep coming back. And when you're ready to really learn it, then you'll learn it. And this has been my lesson, this dance between wanting to just grow my business and do the work from a really open heart, not using manipulative sales tactics, and also being able to actually grow the business. There's this everybody, 90% of people are bloody using these manipulative tactics, which, by the way, we are going to break wide open and look at them through the frame of human design next year. It's going to be so exciting because that's what we've been experimenting with all year. So yeah, I could see these themes, happening. And as I was, over the year, as I was growing and evolving and changing and working with these different coaches, the big theme for me is it was really interesting because I was looking at my income and then all of a sudden, I think it was July, it just exploded. And I was like, wow, what happened in July? And what fundamentally happened in July, and there was a lot of things that I was doing. I was working with a coach. I was working with Laura. I was listening more to myself. I was letting go of a lot of old paradigm shoulds around the business. But there was this pivotal point for me where all of a sudden I was like, well, you know what? I'm just going to trust my power. I'm going to actually access my power. I'm going to really lean in. And the story for the rest of the year became all about deepening the trust with myself, deepening the trust with the universe, growing a rock star dream team for the business, and providing the absolute best programs and community for our clients. One of our missions is to have raving fans, which presupposes that you guys are happy, that you guys enjoy being here, that you feel supported. One of the things we've just done is we put on an entire coaching team, a coach of each type within the Facebook community and HDX, so that everyone feels even more supported. However, we always got the feedback that everyone felt so supported in there already, but we wanted to say thank you, and this is the thing. Now, the next part for me is like the more I started to trust myself, the more I started to call in these businesses like-minded businesses. And of course, I have my dream team of my close entrepreneurs that are heart-centered, and they are doing the work that they're on the planet to do, and they're definitely here to empower. They're not using these manipulative, bullshit power plays. And as I started to love and trust myself, everything else started to flow more. And I was calling in all of these other businesses, and the podcast started to really take off. And I actually had this really big awareness that in the past, there's been certain people that I've wanted to work with, and some of them have been pretty high profile. And my ego is really attached to it. And at first they'd be like, yeah, I want to come on the podcast. Yeah, let's do something together. And then all of a sudden they just ghost me. I'd be like, that's weird. What just happened? What'd I do? Of course, me being me, what did I do? And this is one of the really big lessons for me this year, is really understanding on a quantum level, when you clean up your shit, you cannot coexist with other people who are still at that lower frequency. And I don't mean that from a wanky, being a bit of a douchebag, like a lot of coaches in this world talk about, but I really mean it just from the scientific point of view. So we have to actually, the more we know ourselves, the more we love ourselves, the more we accept ourselves, the more we're going to call in our like-minded crew. So this has been this huge theme for me for the second half, that things have been growing so organically because the team is amazing, the community is amazing, because I believe in myself, because I continue to clean up, my shadow stuff, the disbelief or the distrust or the fear, those things, the constantly clearing those things up without spending too much time contemplating my navel, as one of my mentors used to say. Because if we spend too much time in the shadow, then we're just creating more shadow, but just taking full responsibility. So as I was going through this whole process, ultimately there's this real theme of this year and what it's culminated into. And that is to really have discovered my voice, have really discovered my purpose on a much deeper level. Of course, I've also gone through the Golden Path 3 times this year as well. So that has been a huge eye-opener. Now, one of the ways that we can start to see these patterns, if they don't automatically pop out, is I've got a few journal prompts for you. So let's get into that. Enough of me banging on about me. All right, so, and again, if you feel the need to pause the episode, please do, and just journal your answers to this. So the first question is, for 2022, what were the challenges you faced and who did you become because of them? What changes did you make? Now, this is a big question, so cut it down into its 3 pieces. What were the challenges you faced? Answer that. Who did you become because of them? Answer that. What changes did you make? Answer that. This is so important. This has actually become my go-to. In fact, people reflect it back to me all the time. Whenever there's a challenge or something doesn't go the way that we thought it was going to go, in that moment, I let myself have my emotional response. That's fine. And then usually now, within 24 hours, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what the universe is trying to tell me. And I can start to actually see the guidance, the lesson, the learning because of that. So let me give you an example that's happened really recently. I have been trying all year to get my part of the conversion piece correct. What do I mean by that? I mean converting clients and new customers off the call and into our programs, right? Because all of our programs Phil, we hit our goals, those sort of things, but they don't necessarily convert straight off the back of the call because I had a preconceived idea. I had a belief that that's the way it should look because of the training that I've done in the past. Now, what's really important about this for me is because we've had this happen a number of times, and when I say this happens, I have an expectation to convert a number off the back of the call. That doesn't happen. However, we always reach our goals, and we actually have people who want to be in the programs. Like, we have such happy customers. Remember, raving fans. That's our mission when it comes to our clients, because it presupposes we are giving them everything that they need to love, trust, and accept themselves and transform their lives. So this is why it's really important, because often we just see our challenges and we're like, oh my God. And I will often in that moment be like, but I felt everything. I felt my gut, my emotional authority, my intuition, my instinct, everything was like green light, green light, green light. And then that happens. And what's happened in the past is that I fall into a slump. I fall into oh God, I just have to get better at this. And the reason why, inverted commas, I wasn't getting better at this is because I refused to use the strategies that most people use, because they're manipulative, because it's all the strategies that we have, right? They all go back to one book, and it's called Influence, which you're going to be hearing more about if you're in my community, because we're going to debunk a lot of it. It's going to be so exciting. However, the challenge that I faced was I wasn't converting off the back of the call. Who did I become because of it? Well, I actually found the way that I'm designed to sell products. And the way I'm designed to sell products is just to be in communication, to run a class that people love to be a part of, and then invite them into the program. And that is really the way it goes. That's the method that we use. And we definitely we market in many cases now to each type. We make sure that we have what they need. They know that we have what they need. It's all very open-hearted. It's all very transparent. And this is what's really important, the changes that we made. Like, the amount of times, I think you would have heard me say this story, like, I've signed up and got my money back from so many conversion things this year because I kept that was actually the mistake I was making. I thought I was being the responsible one, taking responsibility for my results, but going out and getting someone else to train me. But instead, what my heart, my authority, the universe was saying is, no, slow down, Emma. The answer is within you. Strategy and authority. You're a line 3. You've got to work out what works and what doesn't work, then implement it, and then boom, 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 boom. So this is what I want you to do. What were the challenges you faced? Who did you become because of them? And what changes did you make? Question number 1. Okay. Question number 2. Where did you give your power away? What are the patterns that preceded giving your power away? So this is a really important question for you to ponder, because where we give our power away is in the moment that we say, I can't trust myself. I don't know. I'm not enough. All of those things. The moment we give our power away, that's why we're doing it, because we believe that we don't have the power within us, so we're giving it to someone else. Now, what I need you to understand is that no one external of you has what you need. It's all within you. Now, that's not to say that you don't need teachers or courses or all of these things. I mean, we live in the information age, and all of them are going to help you be more sovereign, more in control of your power, take back of your power, whether it's a negative experience or a positive experience. The positive experience, hopefully all our clients would say that it's a positive experience because they are empowered. We don't teach them lots of dogma. We teach them how to empower themselves, make decisions for themselves, be in communication with themselves and the universe. We give them all the knowledge that they need. However, we make sure that the power lies with them, okay? So this is really important because we're actually taught that to give our power away. This is our conditioning. We're taught that there's something outside of ourselves, a government, the medical industry, the coaching industry, the education industry, all of these places that these people know better what's good for us over what we know. And it's just not true. It's not true at all on any level. And for those of you who think I'm being a conspiracy theorist, I'm not at all. This is just quantum physics and brain science, okay? We whether you like it or not, we have been manipulated for a very, very long time. And this is a time where you can choose to take your power back. And that's not to say that you don't go to a doctor, but you go to a doctor when your authority says it's time to go to the doctor. Do you know what I mean? Not because you're saying, oh my God, there's something wrong with me and I don't know what to do. I'm powerless to do anything about it, so I have to go to someone else that knows more about my body than I do. That's giving your power away. But like if you break something or you're sick and you feel like, yeah, I want to go to the doctor, then go to the freaking doctor. This is the point, is putting the power back in your hands. And this is, around business. And again, we're going to blow this up next year, is we want people to take their power back, because big business has literally been keeping us powerless for a very long time, telling us what to eat, how to think, how to behave, you name it, all of it. So this is a really, really important question. Where did you give your power away? What are the patterns that precede giving the power away? So really just have a look at your shadows. When do you give when do you do that? And I know for me, I give my power away when I feel like I've given 300% to something. I've done everything. I am done. I'm empty. I've tried, I've put everything into something and it doesn't work. Or it doesn't, I shouldn't say that because it works, but it doesn't meet my expectations. And what do we know about expectations? They're always going to let you down, right? So expectations aren't a great thing to have. In the spiritual world, we call it attachment, letting go of attachment. Now, this is what you want to understand, because you want to understand the trigger, the trigger. And one thing that I've really learned for me is that when I'm in that low, and it's been fascinating watching me play this out, because now I've got a team that I've worked with for a period of time, and they're like, wow, whenever this happens for you, so that moment that I go to give my power away, because I'll go, well, fine, I'll just go sign up for this $30,000 freaking mastermind and go and learn how to market, or, blah, blah, blah. And inevitably the universe jumps in, or I come to my senses and my emotional wave passes through, and I'm like, yeah, far out. No, this is a godsend. Okay, where did we win? What did we learn? What do we need to tweak? And ultimately we surpass what we thought we were going to do. However, we do it the way it happens, in a way that we didn't expect. Good old Joe Dispenza, right? Learning to expect things in a way that are unexpected. So this is exactly what happens. So get clear on what precedes you giving your power away. The next question is, what were the wins? What challenges did you overcome? And how specifically did you take back your power in these times? So good, right? So now we're just restoring deletions. What were the wins? I know a lot of the wins for me were all about trusting myself. We're all about trusting my intuition. We're all about trusting the insights that came in, trusting my strategy on authority, trusting that the universe would, literally put it right in front of me to respond to. This is where so many of my wins came from, and really understanding that when I took back my power, what was my power? How do I specifically take back my power? That's what you want to get clear on. So for me, it's slowing down. It's taking a breath. It's feeling whatever emotion I need to feel, because it just is a wave that's moving through me. And allowing the universe to bring me something to respond to. Allowing my emotional authority time for clarity. These are all the things, right? So I want you to go back and find all of the places, all of the wins, all of the challenges that you overcame, and notice how you specifically took back your power in these times. For me, it's just a good night's sleep. Often I wake up the next day with a completely different view on things, and I take back my power and realize, hey, asking for my money back on 2 things this year, being a line 3. No, I have to do it more than once so that I learn the lesson. Whew. Anywho, okay, the next question I want you to take a look at is, I want you to write down the big decisions that went well for you. Checking in with yourself, did you make these from using your authority? And I just want you to get clear on that. Like, honestly, if you made good, big decisions, I'm tipping you did it by your authority. And again, we're just restoring the deletion. So go and have a look. Like, how did you feel in your body? What did you know? What did you see? What did you hear? How did you know it was a good decision? And in most cases, what you're going to find is an answer something like, I don't know, I just knew. It just felt right. I just had all the clues. And it'll be simple and it won't be long-winded, and it'll have something to do with something internal of your body responding. So yeah, this is just a way that you can really connect with your authority and get that deeper relationship with it, which is beautiful. The next question is, look at the decisions that didn't go your way. Did you give your power away to something else, or to the mind instead of listening to yourself and the universe? Again, I feel like we've kind of already covered this, so I don't want to rehash it too much, but I really want you just to say, okay, did I let the mind jump in? Where did I let the mind jump in? So look at the decisions that didn't go your way. Did you give your power away to something else or the mind instead of listening to your authority and the universe or your strategy? And then ultimately, I just want you to have a look. What were the themes? What were the wins? Who did you become? So what did you see, hear, feel, and know from reflecting on 2022? From a positive place, from a growth, how did life move forward? Did you earn more money? Like, it's another thing. If you want to call more abundance into your life, then know how much you're earning and celebrate it every month. If you want to call in your purpose, then pay attention to where you feel on purpose. Who did you become? What happened? What were the wins? What were those themes that you experienced that kept coming up from 2022? Because I tell you what, it's been an absolute cracker of a year. I feel like 2023 is going to be even bigger. And we're going to support you to look forward to 2023. And the other thing, as you're going into the next year, I would just encourage you to, the more you know your human design, I would really encourage you, yes, to understand the shadows and become conscious of, so that you can see them when you play them out. And then play with the higher expressions, whether you look at it through the gene keys or you just look at how you can use this energy in a more joyful, resourceful, uplifting way, because there's always the light. There is always the light to the dark. And then you can just start choosing those experiences. You can choose those themes. You can choose those higher expressions, because if you start doing that, then you're going to absolutely transform your life. I know for me, as I teach, I've taught the Golden Path this year, and just watching everyone evolve, and even myself, like going through the Golden Path 3 times this year for myself, really just watching how I can now just see myself in the shadow, and I don't shame myself or I don't tell myself off. I'm just like, oh, look, there's the shadow expression. Now I can choose this instead. And building that conditioned mind that really supports our design. And one thing I know for me for this year, Liz said with her forecast for 2022, we were going into a sixth year in 2022. And it was going to be harmony and balance and starting to feel good. And although there's been, I did feel the first 3 months were quite rocky, it was still better than the year before and the year before that. And I definitely feel like this year's been a massive foundational year, so that we can, that's really growing and evolving. And there are just some incredible things coming up next year, and not just for me and not just for our community, but for all of you out there. Believe in the possibilities. Don't let the fear and the shadow get you down, because at the end of the day, you are creating your own reality. You are the master painter, and it's totally 100% in your power to paint a world and a life that you want to live, as opposed to one that makes you feel scared, not enough, and powerless. So on that note, I trust that you enjoyed today's episode. It might be one that you have to go over a couple of times. Feel free to pause it, come back, take notes, especially for those emotional authority friends of mine out there. but it's going to be so powerful if you work through all of this to really connect to the incredible human you've become this year, to see how much growth you've had, and to know that next year is just a little seedling that we're just about to get into. So thanks everyone for joining me. Love you lots. Thanks for being here. Bye for now. Thanks everyone for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.